Yeah. In the 420 patch, they gave everyone dreadlocks. That can't be a coincidence. That absolutely cannot be a coincidence. Okay, hey everyone, hope you're well. And here we are, patch 4.20. So just comparing this to the last patch. The last patch was really focused on bringing down two of the strongest characters at a competitive level, who were Fakumram, Steve, and to an extent, Julia. This one is more focused on buffing the more mediocre characters on the roster, the more unused characters at a competitive level, perhaps in the hopes that they might be used more in tournaments, but overall, I don't think that's going to be the case. We'll see though, we'll see. There are also some pretty big nerfs for Lidia, who's pretty much the only character who got nerfed, and I'm not totally on board with those changes, but we'll see. In this way, the last patch is probably a bit more impactful than this one, because even though characters like Lili and Heihachi are a lot better, I don't think they're contending with the top 10 characters. And I don't think they're going to become tournament mainstays or anything. But we'll see. There are also some weird omissions from this patch. I would have liked to see a continuation of nerfing some of the more oppressive characters, like Marduk, Geese, more nerfs to Julia. So it's odd. It's odd that those characters were left untouched. But anyway, let's dive into it, and let's dive in with who I think is the biggest winner, Armor King. I think actually the three biggest winners, alongside Lili, are Armor King, Heihachi, and Dragunov. So someone must really, really, really like JDCR, because all his three mains are just way, way better. So yeah, JDCR is laughing. Yeah, he's a happy man. I think that was straight from his stream as well. This is basically the JDCR patch. Let's take a look at Armor King. He got some pretty crazy buffs. I think the biggest one is probably this. Genital Devastation. This move is straight up kind of nuts now. The frame data on hit hasn't changed. It's still +7, but it's gone from being -18 on block to -14. So before, every character on the roster could launch punish this, including Steve. Now only a select few. So it's significantly safer, and it also high crushes much faster. At frame 8, it starts to high crush. So it's more evasive and it's safer. High crush is very early on. This move has deceptively good range. Gives a combo on counter hit. Leaves you at +7 right in their face to enforce Armor King's throw mix-up. And that's sort of like a general ethos of what they want to do with Armor King, because a lot of his moves now leave you closer on hit or on block to enforce his throw game. For example, while standing 4 leaves you closer on hit. Throw game. Back 1-2 does more damage, few points more damage, and leaves you closer on hit. Again, this is 12 frame Punisher, so you can start his throw game. The big issue that Armor King had before really was his mids. Yeah, they're better too. So his down forward 1 has a better vertical hitbox, so it can hit moves like AOP more consistently. Down forward 2 is now a homing move. And this synergizes really well with forward neutral 2. There's basically nothing they can do after this. They have to take the down forward 2. Now down forward 2 is unsafe on block at -12, but it has the safe high continuation, which is they can duck, of course. But the other great thing about this is that on counter hit, it's a combo. So yeah, this is a pretty big deal. Synergizes well with this. And also his Shining Wizard, his instant Shining Wizard, Does 45 damage now before it used to do 40 damage. And a lot of his chain throws do more damage as well. So overall, opportunities to go into throw mix-ups are better. Throw damage is better. Lows are better. And one more thing, the headbutt. Yeah, this is another mid. This is the other big mid that got buffed. This is a pretty slow mid, right? 26 frames. Leaves you at +5 though. And again, closer on block than before. So you can go for a throw. It's now also a counter hit launcher. Yeah, there you go. And you can see by itself, this does 36 damage. That's clearly not an optimal combo, but this is really going to hurt if it connects on counter hit. I would say it's a massive buff on counter hit, but it's a 26 frame mid. So if you get hit by this on counter hit, you really deserve that damage. It's a slow mid. But what they changed about it is that it's up from +3 to +5 on block, which means it's really hard to backdash away from the throw now. And it's also closer on block, which again makes the throw mix-up stronger, and it's a counter hit launcher. So really, really good overall. Yeah, I think Armor King is probably one of, if not the biggest winner. I think this is the single most improved move. This is a really scary low now. Really, really scary. And it synergizes well with his game plan and what Armor King tries to achieve. The big thing with Heihachi is that his jabs were always the shortest ranged of all the Mishimas, and his jab range has now been increased, which is great. Like, jabs are a fundamental tool, and now you can see they have quite a bit more range. I can even from range like 2.2 around. Yeah, from around 2.2 you can land them, which is pretty damn good. His down forward 1 also has bigger range, from about range 2.4, I think. Pretty damn good. These are really, really important buffs because jabs and down forward 1s are like core tools, so increasing their range is quite meaningful. Another really important buff is while standing 1. As you'll notice, it now comes out in 13 frames. And the optimal follow-up is the OTGF, which I will butcher and not get because I'm not a Heihachi player. Hold on. Yeah, it's super hard. You believe it. Most normal people go for quarter circle forward 2. There we go. That's a pretty decent buff. It's really meaningful to have a 13 frame Punisher from crouch. Forward 3 and forward 2-3. These are important moves because the forward 3 is a safe mid counter hit launcher. They used to be -3 on block, but now they're -2, which means that you can continue your pressure with a jab and not get interrupted with down forward 1. Pretty good. Forward 4 is closer on hit. The main effect of this is that basically forward 4, Heihachi already had the vastly superior forward 4 to Kazuya, because on block it left them like right in their face. But on hit, sometimes at max range, his down forward 1-2 would drop. But now it's super consistent. You're getting that twin pistons every time, guaranteed, which is great. The other nice buff is down 1. This is both faster and tracks better. In order to step down 1, you now need to commit to a side walk. See? It's also 1 frame faster, down from 17 frames to 16 frames, which is nice. So better tracking, slightly faster, pretty good. It's not his best mid, but it's still fairly annoying. The other buff is to his hell sweep. Used to be +5 on hit, now it's +8. Basically means that if you do hell sweep into forward 3, so this is a really strong frame trap now. And yeah, hell sweep into forward 3 is a really, really strong frame trap now because they're left in crouch at -8, so they really just have to eat it. The last buff is to his back forward 2-3. So there's less recovery on back forward 2-3 now, which makes his combos easier. And I believe it also opens up new combo routes. I'm not a dedicated Heihachi player, but it definitely makes his combo routes easier. Let's move on to
Dragunov. Get ready for the next battle.
Did the game crash? Oops. You know it's Tekken 7 when it crashes. Dragunov's main buffs are fairly short, but quite meaningful. Let's start with the smaller one. Back 1+2. Better range. It's a core tool, but quite a bit better range. All the way from there. That's crazy. So it's going to be quite hard to escape. But the bigger buff, and you can hear JDCR. You can hear a faint laughter in the background. Yep. They this is a bit of an apology to, I guess, JDCR and Nobby, because down 2 is back to its season 1 glory. It forces crouch, which is gonna make this character a hell of a lot more oppressive. This combined with this, holy shit, right? Dragunov is back. Dragunov honestly felt a bit toothless without this forcing crouch. It was such a character-defining thing that I think they probably made the right call in making this force crouch again. Yeah, a lot of the kind of Dragunov has no mids thing is a bit of a meme. He has mids, but you just have to be a bit more careful against highly evasive characters. He's still not quite season 1 Dragunov because the Russian assault still doesn't track as well as it used to, but this is a big deal for the character, for sure. For sure. Interestingly, this is actually a indirect buff for Julia, and I will show you why. So Julia's while standing 4 knocks over and does this kind of flip over stun. This is so dumb. Yeah, the trade is now a launch. It's a bit tricky. There you go. You can now launch after a trade while standing 4. Yay! Oh dear. Anyway, Dragunov's better though. In most of his matchups, he's way better. I think Julia might be a hard counter to Dragunov though, because you don't wanna contest her. that trade is not in Dragunov's favor. The character that got most buffed outside of being a JDCR main is easily Lili. So Lili kind of got buffed up the wazoo. I think Lili was honestly one of the worst characters before, and she was still very viable, don't get me wrong. There were no characters that were unviable. There are no characters that are trash, despite what all the hyperbole might suggest. Like, all the characters in Tekken 7 are good. So Lili's gone from being a bottom 5 character to being pretty damn decent now. The thing with Lili is that a lot of her moves might suggest lockdown. She has a plus on block mid, a pretty scary low, a plus on block homing move, yeah. The thing is that what really fucked up Lili is step guard. Even her homing moves. Like that. So despite the fact that she's on paper meant to be this lockdown character, it never really worked in practice due to the poor tracking, or at least the combination of slow speed and tracking, which made step guarding a really strong option against a lot of her offense. So generally how Lili was played, or is played, at higher levels is in a very defensive, turtley way. So you kind of fart around here, and you bait whiffs like a budget Master Raven with this. You whiff punish with 4-2-3, which is really good. And they've basically made her a much better turtle with this. Go forward 4 now gives you a combo on counter hit, which is really strong. It's sort of like a budget Brian 3+4. Not quite as good as that move, because the whiff recovery is still not great. It's a bit of a risk. The tracking is not great still, but it's a pretty damn strong keep out move. It's a safe mid counter hit launcher, right? With good range. Not the best whiff recovery, still linear, but this is a strong tool to discourage people from running in on Lili, and it complements her most optimal playstyle, which is defensive turtle. So this is a good call, I think. I know a lot of people will be like, safe mid counter hit launcher, and yeah, this is Tekken 7. It is the game of down forward ones and safe mid counter hit launchers. Speaking of down forward ones, the other main problem with Lili was that she had an atrocious down forward one. Before, it used to be possible to backdash out of a lot of her pressure, because the down forward one just wouldn't reach. Not the case anymore. It's a much better lockdown poking pressure tool. And yeah, this is a really meaningful change for a character that's lacked a decent down forward one forever. This will make a real impact at high levels of play, for sure. Her pressure game has been made a bit better though. Her main mid homing move, forward 3, still has the problem of being easily step guarded, which I failed to do there. I see, you can do it there, right? Step guard, right? But it's gone from being -6 to -3, which allows her to maintain the pressure even on block, especially since Lili has the best sidestep in the game. That's pretty damn good. What else helps her pressure game is down 1-2. This has gone from being an absolute dogshit string to a pretty good low, because it's now a natural combo. See? Now, it's not amazing because, you know, if you block it, you're gonna launch her, right? It's a non-jailing low-high string. So it's quite risky. This was completely pointless before. And it's quite similar to moves like Lars down back 1-3, except it leaves you a +3 in their face, which is pretty good for continuing your pressure. And you also have the option of going into back turned. A really annoying option from back turned is back turn down 4. You can't hop kick back turn down 4 after down 1-2 on hit. You have to low parry it. Really irritating. They've turned what is a pretty terrible move into a pretty decent low. There's also the threat of the safe mid, if you want to challenge her. So it's even better. Speaking of lows, down 3 does slightly more damage, up from 14 damage to 16 damage. Pretty small, but again, lows are better. Up back 1, this move used to be completely pointless. But now it knocks down on normal hits for a free little down 3. Nice lick of damage. You get in total 33 damage from all this. So yeah, it's gone from being, again, completely useless to, yeah, a nice damaging mid. I don't think it'll be used that much still, but it's okay. It's still very, very linear. I mean, I'm not sure I have to show you this, but it's as linear as it looks. Her fully crouch game is better. So she has this low from fully crouch down forward 3. And this basically goes into high crush frames faster. You used to be able to jab her out of this sometimes, and now you can't do that anymore. And also, her mid option from fully crouch on counter hit now knocks them over to a free forward 3+4 for a good lick of damage. And the other thing is that her forward 3 is a safe mid launcher. Now, this sounds ridiculous because, yeah, it's -12 on block, but if you do cancel and then sidestep, it's safe. Let me show you. See? Safe. If you do cancel and sidestep, it's completely safe. And also, yeah, even if you do the dew glide sidestep cancel, due to the buffed down forward 1, you can actually pick up and combo from it. See? Pretty good. The thing is that when will you use this move? It's still very, very linear. And it's very, very slow. I mean, look. Basically, how I think this is going to be used is that players would often instinctively crouch against Lili at close range when they saw her do a dash. Because the most likely option would be a Root of Evil, which is a pretty damaging low, especially since in Season 4, on counter hit, it does this, all guaranteed, very scary at the wall. But now if you see her dash, you have this to worry about too. So you can't just duck, yeah? She has a safe mid launcher for you to worry about. You can also, I guess, sometimes throw it out at the mid-range to complement her turtling defensive game. So if players are approaching you, you know, you can backdash away, and throw this out sometimes. It does have a follow-up, which is also safe. But this can be sidestepped as well. See? And you can launch her. But annoying camera side switch, huh? Ugh. It's a safe mid launcher, but it's pretty slow. It's very linear. And it's like, you know, Lili already had big dumps, like safe-ish mid launchers from around this range with this. This is quite tricky to punish. Down forward 3+4. So yeah, you can use it to complement her, like, flying through the air with some bullshit from 10 miles away game. But I think it's better used as a sort of disincentive to players who want to crouch against forward 4. Pretty good overall. Overall, Lili got some really nice buffs. Icefalls, thank you for the sub. I think the biggest buff for Lili is probably this, forward 4, being a safe mid counter hit launcher. It's a really good keep out tool. Yeah, it's a bit like Brian's 3+4, Jin's forward 4. Not quite the same caliber as those moves. Yeah, it is a big old boot to the crotch, relatively fast, great range, and it complements her keep out game. It complements what she's best at a high level, along with some, you know, minor but appreciated buffs to her pressure game with better lows, better frames on block. I think Lili has gone from being like a lower tier but still viable character to a pretty decently healthily strong mid-tier character. Maybe upper mid? No, mid-tier. She's pretty good now. I think she's pretty solid now. She's certainly no longer bottom 5. These are pretty big changes, especially the forward 4 and the down forward 1. These are really important. Those are the 4 big winners. Basically JDCR with Armor King, Heihachi, and Dragunov, and Lili. I don't think any of these characters have cracked into the top 10, and I don't think the competitive meta of this game has really changed. But I will say that aside from maybe Dragunov there, because JDCR is a top player, right? So if you're buffing JDCR's mains, then JDCR is, you know, he's a force of nature at this game. There's a real chance he's probably going to win more tournaments now, especially with Dragunov. Finna down 2, you know, they gave him his game plan back. Nobby as well. I think Nobby was so like ecstatic about the down 2 change. I think out of all the changes listed there for the top 4 winners, the most pertinent and the most meaningful change for competitive Tekken is probably Dragunov's down 2 forcing crouch again, because players like JDCR and Nobby are really going to take advantage of that. Lili's better, Armor King is better, Heihachi are all better, but I don't really see them cracking into the game's competitive meta all of a sudden. So yeah, no hyperbole, no broken, no OP. They're better. They're definitely better, but not crazy better. So let's move on to the next tier. So like top tier of winners is, yeah, JDCR characters and Lili. And then the next tier who got some pretty good buffs, but not as transformative as those 4. Leo, Eddy, Jack, and Feng. And let's go over them. Okay, so let's talk about Leo. The biggest changes with Leo are forward 4-2. This is now -9 on block, down from -10, making it safe. It's a long distance safe mid, making it a really strong approach tool. Still quite linear, so don't spam it, but yeah, this is a damn good buff. Next is forward 4, is now a mid counter hit combo. And everything that goes into forward 4, back 1 4, 3 2 4, these are all buffed as well. You do have to commit to either forward 4-1 or forward 4-2 to get the combo, and I don't think it's counter hit confirmable. Pretty good buff. A bunch of moves that you couldn't do out of sidestep, you now can do out of sidestep, and the most important one is forward 2-3. This has an inbuilt sidestep right, so if you do sidestep right forward 2-3, this is a very evasive move now, and I imagine it's a pretty strong panic move. You didn't used to be able to do this out of a sidestep. Now you can, and it should be really good to get out of sticky situations. The second hit of down forward 1-2 now knocks down. There we go. Free shoulder. Really satisfying to do. Good lick of damage, about 50 damage. The other buff is to quarter circle forward 1. So quarter circle forward 1 used to be -2 on hit. Now it's -1. Which means that it used to trade with down forward 1s. Now a while standing 4 after a quarter circle forward 1 will beat a down forward 1 clean. Do be careful though, because in season 2, was it? In season 2 or 3, I can't remember, they made while standing 4-1 plus 2 -12. It used to be crazy broken actually. So you can't just, throw it out. But yeah, it's a nice little frame trap after this on hit. If they try to contest you with a down forward 1 to keep maybe your fully crouch mix in check, like that. And the other thing is, while standing 1 plus 2 is now a wall bounce, which makes her fully crouch mix at the wall quite a bit scarier. Do be careful though, as it's -15 on block, so be careful, right? Can be launch punished. But yeah, it does make her wall game. Sorry, it does make their wall game scarier. I'm not really sure. I think the other thing in this patch is that they seem to go out of their way to use gender-neutral pronouns for Leo, which is a first. Frame disadvantage on hits reduced to enable them to more easily interrupt an opponent's move. It's never been clear whether it's ambiguous or whether Leo's gender is, she's non-binary, they are non-binary. It's still not clear, but they're not using gender-specific pronouns. Leo also got a bunch of damage buffs to up forward 1-2, their 13 frame Punisher, down forward 2, up forward 4, Bok, I think Bok is this, right? To Bok 2, and while standing 2. So basically a lot of their launches and this Punisher. Which is nice. I mean, these are all been buffed by like 3 points of damage each, so Leo's also a bit more damaging as well. Yeah, that about covers Leo. I think the biggest buff really is forward 4-2 being safe. This makes it a really strong approach tool. And forward 4 leading to combos on counter hit. It's pretty strong by itself, but also, and also indirectly buffs back 1-4 and 3-2-4. There you go. So with Eddy, I think the biggest change is up forward 4, like one of his best mids, is now a homing move, which is pretty damn strong. This is a long range mid. It's from a mile away, and now you can't step it. Great. It's not like Claudio back 1 levels of obnoxious, because, on block, he's like kind of left at, -8, relatively close in, but it's still really good. Really helps the space control. Forward 4 hits grounded now, which makes it his optimal down forward 2 follow-up. It's quite tricky though. Quite tricky. There you go. And if they try to wake up incorrectly, There you go. That's the guaranteed follow-up. But if they try to wake up incorrectly, they get a full launch. There you go. So, yeah, pretty damn strong. This also applies with stuff like sidestep 1+4, which is a hideous, hideous move. There you go. That's guaranteed. But if I do it a bit slower, then it catches a backwards wake up. So they might just want to stay on the floor and take it. Fully crouched 3+4. This is a move you can kind of throw out at from a mile away. This now leads to a combo on counter hits. You have to cancel into Negativa. It's a bit tricky. There you go. You can also access this move from, I believe, Sidestep 4. Sidestep 4 is one of his best lows, right? So if the follow-up is now a counter hit launcher, that makes you want to challenge him much less often. Yeah. So on certain angles, the pickup isn't consistent. But yeah, you need to be fairly flush on center for it to connect. Eddy has a bunch of options, by the way, from Sidestep 4. So it can go into handstand. Yeah, it's Sidestep 4 is one of his best moves. So the fact that the follow-up is now a counter hit mid-launcher is pretty damn good. Negativa 4, so relax, as it's more commonly called. This is now a combo on counter hits. Unsafe on block, so be careful. But it is a homing mid counter hit combo now. And, finally. So this move was kind of notorious, right? They gave him this move in season 3? 4-2-3? I think it was season 3. It was meant to be a 12-frame Punisher, but it left him at +6 in handstand, which meant that rage arts were not guaranteed, but in many situations, unless he did something, a very specific cancel to get out of it, it opened him up to rage arts. But now it's +10, meaning he can carry on pressure with handstand 2. Yeah, if they try to rage art, handstand 4 will beat that. Let me show you. If you try to rage art, what you get for your trouble. It beats rage arts now, right? So you're not put in this ridiculous guessing situation. And yeah, now handstand 2 is a pretty good option if you want to continue your offense. And yeah, that's about it. These are some pretty good changes. Again, I don't think they're entirely transformative, but yeah, some welcome buffs nonetheless. What they did with Jack, which looks really good on paper, is forward 1, which was a menace in season 1, now has better tracking. Now, it's kind of hard to tell because it's a move from a dash, and it's hard to really tell the effect unless you're in a match. But from just a bit of labbing, I don't think it's as good as his season 1 forward 1, which was really hard to step. Jack's not the best character to show this with, because his sidestep's trash. But it seems like a middle ground between the amazing tracking in season 1 and the nerfed tracking in season 2. So you need to be more precise with your sidestep in stepping the jackhammer, and you generally need to commit to a side walk as well. I'm sure Jack players will be welcoming that with big open metallic arms. Jack also got some minor damage buffs to 2 of his best lows. Down back 1, which now does 2 points more damage, up from 13 points to 15 points. Seems small, but it's his best low, or one of his best lows, so it adds up. And also fully crouched down back 1, which is probably his best low, goes from 15 points of damage to 16 points of damage. Yeah, it's pretty decent, You'll be landing these a lot with Jack, so they will build up. Speaking of damage buffs, forward 2 now does 20 points of damage, up from 17, and up back 1 + 2. So this is a high power crush, which on paper is absolutely terrible, and it's still not great, but at least it does 30 points of damage as opposed to 25. Still not a great move. Panic moves and getting out of pressure is Jack's weakness, so I'm glad they didn't buff it that much. The annoying thing with this move, I'll show you right now, is that it has a bit of evasive properties, and if you have terrible jabs like Jin, yeah, there you go. tends to do that sometimes. Again, it's not the best move because, you know, yeah, like relatively slow power crushing high. It's not like backlash either. Jin can step the hammer. I can actually show you with Jin. So let me show you the tracking on the jackhammer. There you go. If you're precise with it, especially to the left, it's not too hard to sidestep. But, you know, if you're imprecise, you will get snagged. See? You have to be more precise. It's a bit like what they did with Electric Wind Godfist, right? You can still step it to the left, but you need to be more precise. Not many moves got buffed, but the ones that did are his best moves, so yeah, those are some pretty meaningful buffs there. Not transformative, but meaningful. Let's move on to Feng. Feng is really simple. You just got a bunch of damage buffs. Feng's changes are really, really easy to cover. A lot of his combo initiators, combo filler, combo tools, and punishers got buff damage. Namely, forward 4, down forward 4-3, shoulder, and rage drive. Yeah. While standing 1-2, while standing 3, up forward 4. They all got a few points more damage. A lot of combo starters, combo filler, combo tools, screw starters. Like, he just does more damage. Feng always had sort of middling combo damage, so they've addressed that, and now he does pretty decent combo damage. It's a bit of a baffling change since Feng was in a pretty good spot before, but I guess, yeah, I guess the argument was he was power crept, and he's a cool character to watch, and you know, I like to see Fengs in tournaments. Again, like someone said, like Feng's a beast now. Like, yeah, he gets a few points more damage in his combos. It always helps, but they're not transformative. Appreciate it. Damage. It's a very simple change. I heard someone say, Isaac, yeah, he can get 70 from while standing 3 now, which is definitely not the case before. Yeah, if you can break 70 in a staple bread and butter combo, that's pretty damn good. So he deals pretty decent damage now, when before it was fairly mediocre. So these characters got some minor buffs. It's more just quality of life stuff. First character is Jin Kazama. Now, an annoying thing with Jin's back 2-1 string is that often at certain ranges, if the opponent blocked back 2, then back 2-1, the full string would whiff to sometimes catastrophic consequences. That never happens now, basically. It's super consistent, which is great. This is my one issue with using it as a round ender, and now it's just like a super good round ender. You can feel confident in spamming back 2-1 at the end of rounds. You can feel safe and secure. The second hit's never going to randomly whiff now. While standing 2 used to have a fairly high hitbox for a mid, which meant that if you used it to punish moves like Dragon Tail or Scarecrow down forward 4-4, it would sometimes whiff. And now it's super consistent, which is great. Very similar change to Master Raven's while standing 1. I like changes like this. They're just objectively good changes. It's every time. We even get Zafina out here, because this low recovers very low. Punch it every time now. A lot of while standing moves went right over this. And now Jin's while standing 2 and Raven's while standing 1 don't, which is nice. And one more quality of life change is Anna's forward 2. Anna's forward 2 had a bit of a finicky hitbox where it would just like sometimes not hit the opponent when it clearly should have, and now it does, which is nice. And it's one of her best moves, right? It's one of her best approach tools. It's a homing move. These are at +6 to start her annoying poking game. So yeah, very important move, and it's more consistent now, so a nice quality of life change. Minor nerf to Kunimitsu. So before, Kunimitsu's forward 1+4 throw, if you broke it, she was left at, you were left in a frame neutral situation. Now, she's at -3. Before, if she went for a down 3, A lot of the male characters back turn hop kicks. Oh, and that still happens. Wonderful. Ah. Never mind. So yeah, still a bit bullshit. Won't lie. But yeah, I guess it was designed to stop that, but clearly they didn't test it enough. Okay, let's see with another character, a shorter character. Well, that's what's supposed to happen, right? That wouldn't happen before. So I guess this is a nerf to Kunimitsu, unless you're Miguel, or maybe some tall characters. But yeah, email Harada. The only real loser in this patch is Lidia. Lidia got some pretty big nerfs, actually. I think the biggest one is that her cat food 1-2, her stances names are ridiculous, but cat food 1-2, this basically, this is now -10. Now this is meant to be the mid you use to keep opponents in check after forward 4-2 connects. Now it's punishable, which means you can't really use it to keep people in check. And that's a pretty big nerf. That kind of guts a big part of her game plan, I think. How do you keep people honest now? I kind of feel like if this connects, she puts herself in a mix-up situation. Like, she should have a clear advantage if she connects with this. And she used this to keep mashers in check. Now it's unsafe. I'm not sure I'm on board with that change. The other change is that forward 3 no longer knocks down, and by extension, no longer wall splats. This used to be a safe mid wall splat, and now it doesn't. 3-2 does less damage, and it's also easier to whiff punish. They've added a few frames of whiff recovery. There you go. Before, it was basically impossible to punish it with 15 frame launchers. Now you can if you're sharp, and it's really consistent to get 4 frame. Sorry. Now it's really consistent to get I11 or I13. There you go. See? Super consistent. And if you're really on the ball, you can get a 15 frame launch. Yeah, this used to be notoriously hard to punish. I think that's a good change. I think we'll get into this later. The other baffling change to her pressure game is so now Heaven and Earth 1+2 can be reversaled or parried. See? You didn't used to be able to reversal this. You have to get the timing down. There you go. And the timing's actually exactly the same for both this and the mid option. So this kind of guts a lot of the mix-up. Which is unfortunate, right? I think this is trying to incentivize people using Heaven and Earth 2 more. See? Which of course you can't reversal because it's a low. You have to either mix up your timing with the Heaven and Earth mix-up, i.e. delay it a bit, or use the low if you think they're going to reversal you. Heaven and Earth 1+2 is also easier to whiff punish. If you duck it, you can launch it pretty consistently now. Her Rage Drive used to give her like a ridiculous +27. Used to give her +27 on block. Now it's +15. Which is exactly the same as if Lidia connects a forward 2 on hit. So exactly the same situation. See, this is also +15. Same, right? So you don't get like a crazy free Heaven and Earth entry with the Rage Drive anymore. And the other thing with Lidia, she got a few points of damage knocked off of down back 1. 3 damage is down from 20 to 17. Down forward 1 plus 2, down from 24 damage to 21. Down back 2, which is one of her better lows, down from 17 to 14 damage. Down back 3 plus 4, down from 22 to 21. By the way, up forward 4 is also easier to punish now. It's the same on block, it's minus 13, but it's just easier to punish, which is good because it was a really weird hop kick to punish. It was so, the animation was really misleading. It's just more consistent, which is, again, another good nerf, I think. I think the whiff recovery changes on this and this are good changes because they were obnoxious and annoying, and you should be rewarded for successfully evading a move. They should have added this to that too, down forward 1, 2. They should have added some more riff recovery. But I'm not on board with the forward 3 nerf. I'm definitely not on board with this being unsafe. I think that's quite a big nerf. It's her main, it's the main tool to keep mashes in check. I think they kind of jumped the gun with nerfing Lidia. Yes, she was doing quite well in tournaments. Especially that one esports ORG. What were they called? Like Axio? What was the name? That esports org that tried to ban Lidia. That was funny, right? The thing with Lidia is that her character archetype is similar to like Hwoarang's. It's rushdown mix-up. And these characters tend to do very well when they first come out because they have this very high-speed, oppressive offense, and they seem overpowered at first, but once you learn the matchup, they go down in strength. And I think they jumped the gun with nerfing Lidia. Especially some of her stance mix-ups. I know people were like, oh, OP, broken. And it's like, that's sort of what this archetype is. Many people have said it. If Hwoarang was released right now, he'd be absolutely broken and he'd be dominating for months. Absolutely dominating. Lidia is not to that level, but she's still the same basic archetype. And I have the feeling that these nerfs have taken what would have turned out to be a fairly middling mid-tier character to sort of mediocre now. I don't think they gave the community enough time to learn the matchup and adapt before they nerfed her. They jumped the gun with nerfing this character. I don't think these nerfs were warranted. And I as I said, I think Lidia compared to Leroy and Fakumram was quite a well-considered character with real discernible strengths and weaknesses, which I like. So I think it's a bit of a shame that they've done this to her, honestly. She's not dead. She's not like shit tier. People love to exaggerate and hyperbole and all this stuff, but like some of these nerfs I just think are not warranted. This especially, this is kind of weird. Like the whole point of this tool was to keep mashes in check, and now you can't do that. This is the one change I think they should maybe revert. Other than that, other weird things about this patch is that clearly the ethos for this was making mediocre underpad characters more viable. And yeah, definitely Lili and Heihachi and Dragunov, especially Dragunov, are more viable. And I think Dragunov will see some more tournament results. But I don't think this has really changed the competitive meta very much. At least not to the extent of the previous patch where which didn't change the top 10, but it definitely changed the order of the top 10. Like Steve and Fakumram definitely went down a few notches. And that was pretty big because they were pretty popular tournament characters. I think in this patch, yes, the winners are Heihachi, Armor King, like the JDCR characters basically. Heihachi, Armor King, Dragunov, and Lili. Those are the big winners. But I think the actual winners are the characters that should have been nerfed, i.e. Geese, Julia, Marduk, especially those three, Geese, Julia, Marduk, and to a lesser extent, Zafina, Devil Jin, Paul. Having said that, like the players who like who favor some of the mid-tier characters, basically JDCR, who uses exclusively mid-tier characters. Now, JDCR got a massive buff. This is the JDCR patch. And he's smiling. He's laughing. He's laughing all the way to the bank. So good on you. I wouldn't be surprised if he wins a few tournaments this year. Happy man. Happy.